Hi and welcome back. In this video I wanted to talk about a really important concept in programming, which is mutability. Some things in Python are mutable and some things are immutable. So what is mutable? A mutable piece of data is one that you can change after you've created it. An immutable piece of data is one you cannot change. Here you may be wondering, aren't all pieces of data mutable? Like when you create a variable, you can then change it? Yes, that is true. However, the variable itself is not the piece of data. Let's go back to our dictionary that has how long ago we saw some of our friends. Here, the data is the dictionary. So Python creates this dictionary, and then the variable is essentially like a post-it note that's been attached to the variable to the data that says this piece of data now has this name. However, when you do something like another variable equal friends last seen, these two are the same dictionary. Once again, what we've done is we've attached another name to the value in here, this dictionary here. This is a really important concept in programming. Let's forget about this name tagging for just a moment, and I'll ask you, how do you know it's mutable? Well, whenever we create a new dictionary, it's stored physically in your computer's RAM, random access memory, which is a type of memory that only lives while the computer is on and your app is running. As soon as your app terminates, your program finishes, i.e. if we run this and it reaches the end, the RAM does get lost, or rather the memory that was assigned to this Python program gets lost, and then it can get overwritten by other programs. Python can give us the ID of the object. The ID function here is used to give us the ID of any object, and in this case we're passing it the friends last seen variable here, which points to this dictionary. So it can give us the ID of that, and in the majority of Python implementations, that's an interesting concept by itself, but in your Python implementation, the one you'll be running most likely, and certainly here in REPL it, the ID is the address of the object in memory, and that's precisely the first cell in a group of cells in your RAM which stores your object. This ID function here gives you the first cell in the group. That's because the object can take up multiple cells, and they normally do. Okay, so let's run this program. And now you get a number. Seemingly arbitrary number, but when we run the program again, notice that we get a slightly different number. It wasn't so easy to see, but trust me, it's a different number. Now, when we say friends last seen is now this dictionary, which looks the same, but is an entirely new dictionary, and you can tell that by, once again, calling the friends last seen function, the ID. Notice how these two numbers are very slightly different. That's because these objects are not the same object. They are two objects which have the same content. Think, for example, of two cars coming out of a production line. They both have four wheels, a steering wheel, they both may be red, they both be the same make and model, but they are not the same car. Same thing here. We have a variable